My favorite thing to do growing up in Lakeland, well, when I first started, kind of becoming my own kid on some level, it was through my dad. And my dad was a big baseball card collector. So back in those days, there were a lot of baseball card comic shop combos. So I think when I was a kid, it was definitely like rolling around different like stores in town where my dad would be looking for baseball cards and I would be over in the corner digging through like comic bins or whatever. And I still miss those times a lot. Mm. And my dad would come home with baseball cards and I'd come home with comics, and that was like my absolute, like, still to this day, I miss when comic shops were like rusty and dirty and kind of stinky. At this point, I've pretty much worked for every major comic company in the industry. All the big guys. Marvel, DC, IDW, Boom Studios. I'm probably missing out on one. Image, I had a whole 5-issue series of books released through Image, and Image is, of course, the biggest independent company, which we all know originally The Walking Dead came out through. Dark Horse was the place that I've always loved, which, was Hellboy, Madman, Sin City. Those were like a lot of my big influences when I was growing up, and they were the first people to release my original project, which was Sabretooth Swordsman. Me and my buddy Damon, who co-wrote Sabretooth Swordsman with me, we were just kind of messing around, making our own little goofy comics at home. We had a website called Invade My Privacy, and we were just having fun. We felt like we were getting kind of old, and we always loved comics, and we were like, why are we not doing this? We still like have talent, Let's just do what we want to do. And I think at the time there were not a lot of comics that were coming out that were really that interesting to us personally. So we kind of wanted to do something that would make us happy. Dark Horse was doing this thing called Dark Horse MySpace Presents, which was on if anybody remembers MySpace back in the day.
Right, throwback.
Yeah. They were posting little comics on MySpace. Well, strangely enough, Damon and I did this thing where we just packaged up a lot of the different goofy stuff that we were doing on the website, printed it out, packaged it up, and sent it around. That's not something that really happens anymore with the internet because you can just send people stuff through email. Mm-hmm. And Dark Horse told us that they actually call that the slush pile. But they just happened to be looking through their slush pile one day and was like, yo, this might be something that's cool to have on the MySpace website. Well, through that, we got hooked up with an editor. And when it comes to comics, like, the editors are everything. If you can get hooked up, if you can get an editor's email and they like your stuff, you're pretty likely to get some work with them. So we worked with this editor for about a year trying to get the pitch right for Sabretooth Swordsman. He had showed it around to a couple of the other editors, and they were like, this looks great. The thing is, you're just going to have to get it past what they call the money people, Right. And they had a meeting one day, and shortly after that, it was like, yeah, your book's good to go. First starting to work in comics, I was still working part-time at the comic store downtown. And it was really, really inspiring to see the guys and gals who would come in there, who, you watch these people and you know what kind of comics they like, and you know that your stuff is not necessarily like the same kind of thing that they would normally buy, but because they like loved you at the comic shop and you had turned them on to so many things, they gave your stuff a try. And it was really mind-blowing, all the amount of people who would come in there And even just like, even if I just did a cover to a comic, they'd be like, "Oh, Aaron, did you get that cover? Do you have one of those covers for me that you did?" And I would be like, "Oh, I didn't think you even wanted that." We had the like book release for Sabretooth Swordsman, and like a line of people showed up and had me sign their books, and we sold a lot of them, and it was really awesome to see the support that turned out from these guys. And comic people can be very picky too, you know? So it was really just really nice to see. And still to this day, you know, a lot of those guys, even though I'm not working at the comic book shop anymore, are really supportive on Instagram and will, you know, hit me up and ask me what I'm doing next, or if I bump into them around town at other events, you know. I love Lakeland, and it's been a great place to live while working on all this stuff. You know, you don't have to live in New York City anymore to like make comics, luckily. You can just be anywhere, making comics from anywhere, which is so great. And I love Lakeland, and it's, you know, a great place to live.
So on that note, Aaron, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and thank you for vibing out.